President Trump is urging his party to do what many consider unthinkable. He told Republican lawmakers to be flexible on allowing taxpayer dollars to fund abortion.
The president said the move may be necessary to strike a health care deal with Democrats. Our medical reporter Lori Johnson has more.
For nearly 50 years, the Hyde Amendment has prohibited federal tax dollars from being used to pay for most abortions. Now, congressional Democrats demand lifting it in order to get a health care deal passed. This week, President Trump told fellow Republicans it may be the only way to get his health care plan passed.
Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work. We're all big fans of everything, but you got to be flexible. You have to have flexibility.
That's a stark reversal from 1 year ago. Just days after being sworn into his second term, the president signed an executive order calling for greater enforcement of the amendment.
Just 1 year ago, we were honored to see President Trump shoring up, calling for high protections. He needs to go back to a year and review his remarks.
It's a red line for most pro-lifers.
Since 1976, the first time we saw Hyde attached to a congressional spending resolution, it has been estimated from researchers that over 2 million children have been saved. They've been spared the death by abortion.
A Republican backtrack on Hyde could hurt them in the midterms.
Republican officials cannot win their races in November if they abandon their pro-life base. Had 1 to 2% of pro-life voters stayed home in 2024, Trump would not be president right now. We would have Kamala Harris in the White House.
And while failing to negotiate a health care deal could mean another government shutdown, some lawmakers would prefer that to seeing public funding for abortion.
I think we've seen really great leadership from Speaker Mike Johnson, from Leader John Thune, in saying that no Hyde, no deal, essentially all throughout this process.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Well, senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright is with us now. So, Kelly, the last January, President Trump issued an executive order supporting the Hyde Amendment. Why is he changing now, especially since it's angering such a core part of the voting bloc in an election year?
Well, Gordon, to speak for Caroline Leavitt, who spoke for the president yesterday, she is defending the president, stating and clarifying the flexibility factor. I really got to read this statement to you from her. She said the president did not change the administration's policy. It was President Trump who signed that executive order that you're talking about. And she says that he is not pulling away from that at all, but was actually trying to inform Republicans that they will have to find a way to compromise Republicans and Democrats on the Affordable Health Care Act to find a way to move forward with health savings accounts and things of that nature. But obviously, the president stating those words, flexibility and ingenuity, that really rankles the feathers of so many Republicans, congressional Republicans and pro-lifers who are stating that the president can have no wiggle room on this, that flexibility and ingenuity is not the moral code that they want to follow on this abortion and pro-life stance and Hyde Amendment.
Well, the Hyde Amendment's been the law of the land for now half a century. It just doesn't make any sense to say, well, now we have to be flexible on it. You can have whatever views you want to have on abortion, but when you start talking about taking tax dollars from individual Americans and then funding that, you're absolutely violating their conscience. You're going to be triggering things you just flat do not ever want to trigger. It just makes no sense that you would come out and say, let's be flexible on this issue.
Well, Gordon, you're right. And to be very specific, the reason why you're right is that what this shows that the president is willing to make a deal on certain situations in terms of talking about flexibility and affordability and ingenuity. And all of this is transactional. If you really look at what he's doing, he's setting up things so that he can win the midterms. But to the point of that report, a lot of pro-lifers will sit on the sidelines if the president really pushes this. And we saw the White House yesterday begin to push back on what the president was saying, trying to clarify that he was not in any way trying to amend the Hyde Amendment. I think they need to be very clear about where they stand on this issue, just as he was last year when he opened up his administration for his presidency and was really firm in supporting the Hyde Amendment.
All right. Well, Kelly, thanks for your insight.